The James Show Podcast.
So there's a news anchor. She has been on the anchor desk for a couple decades now. She's up in Boston, and she recently sued the network over her affiliate. I don't even want to name the network, but man, I kind of enjoy this story, and it kind of makes me sick to my stomach. So there's a nice duality of James going on here. But she's suing them because she claims she was demoted for DEI purposes. And she said they had a DEI push, and they decided that their cast was too white, so they demoted her and put a person of color in her place. And it wasn't for cause. It wasn't that she had done anything wrong. It's not because she's getting too old and ugly to be a news anchor. It was based simply for the color of her skin. First, the answer to that is, yeah, that's probably the case. Absolutely, that's probably the case. Is that illegal? Is that something that's lawsuit worthy? You know, I'm sure it's not criminally illegal, but like, I don't know, is there a civil violation there of some sort? Well, not if you believe in DEI. I got news for you, lady. Everyone else. That's what DEI is. DEI is anti-white discrimination. It is anti-male discrimination. It is anti-straight discrimination. When they talk about getting more diverse voices in the radio or more diverse faces on TV, they're talking about diminishing the role of white people in those arenas. When they talk about getting more diversity in the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies, more diversity in the C-suite executives, the way that is implemented in the real world, they may not tell you this publicly. They may not put it in their pamphlets or flyers. They may not put it in the signs that they hold when they're blocking the streets. But the real ugly truth behind DEI is it sees straight white male employment as a problem that needs to be solved. Now, lady, you quite well may have benefited from DEI, or at least if it's not officially DEI, just deference to minorities. You're a woman. This has worked in your favor up until then. You're a woman. That's probably one of the deciding factors that got you on the anchor desk in the first place. You know, I've worked in TV at several TV stations. I've worked at several radio stations, and both of them are dying to get women on the air, dying to get women to host shows, dying to get women to fill out applications and to promote them. And it's not because they're necessarily biased against men. It's the fact that there's so many more men going for these jobs than women, and you want to kind of have a balance on the air. You want to kind of, be able to, not have one demographic be all the way across. Now, that sounds like a more benevolent form of DEI, but it's not the same thing. Not every time race or gender is involved in the hiring or promotion process does it count as what we all agree as discrimination, or at least unethical discrimination. There's such thing as ethical discrimination. If you're a tanning bed, I recommend you focus your advertising on the white demographic. I'm not saying you should completely exclude or dehumanize darker people, but they're not going to go use your tanning bed, are they? When you're talking about sickle cell anemia, that is something that is far more prevalent in one demographic versus all the others. You'd be smart to focus your attention based solely on the color, the race of the person involved. But there's this one looks like it may have crossed the line. Someone got there based on her merits, maybe plus the fact that they needed a woman. But if you have that job and you get there and then they decide, there's someone who's an even bigger victim than you, someone who's higher up on the intersectionality totem pole, and you just got clocked for that? Welcome to my world, lady. I have been through many jobs where I have been told I didn't get the job because I wasn't a woman when they have morning shows. And it makes sense. Look, this isn't an ugly discrimination here. You want to have a guy, you want to have a girl, and how many morning shows do you hear like that? Look at the country station that's just broadcasting underneath me right now on the fourth floor. You see a lot of those. But in this one, you're kind of getting the hint. Well, we already have diversity. We have men and women. Oh, no. The problem is there's too many white people. Now, there was a black guy that got hired to replace the meteorologist, and here's where it got ugly. On air, he made what she perceived as to be a sexually inappropriate comment. It was so bad that she filed a complaint with HR. HR said that she was out of line and she got recommended for unconscious bias training for her so-called microaggressions. And so, ladies, you like these DEI programs. You like the diversity push when it benefits you. Now you don't like it? Good. I hope you share your story far and wide. I hope you join me and become a crusader against it. Because you're right. DEI, look, here's where I just slapped myself in the forehead. This was like 10 years ago. But I remember flipping through when it was Twitter, and I think it was Temple University. They had made a post where they put a picture of 3 different people on the post. And they were bragging, Temple University, first university to have a black athletic director, black football coach, black basketball coach. And then it was hashtag diversity for the win. And that's when it's just obvious as all get out. You can't even lie. There's no diversity there. Every single person matches the same demographic. That's the opposite of diversity. That's a monolith. And then it dawns on you, oh, diversity is just a nice word for racism against white people. Oh, now I get it. That's what diversity really is. But it's cute when it works for you, ladies, isn't it? When they have the unmanned flights. Did you see that on the airplanes when they talk about, hey, we have an all-female flight crew. We have a female co-pilot, a female pilot, female head stewardess or whatever they're called these days. Yeah, that's not diversity either. That's not a hashtag win for diversity. Every single one of these programs is just to diminish white people in positions of power, diminish men in positions of power, diminish straight people in positions of power, Christians in positions of power. And God help you if you're all 4 of those, if you're a James Parker out there. Diversity is just legalized, acceptable discrimination against me. I'm glad some of you other people are catching on to that. This might be an interesting night in D.C. tonight because the most powerful man on planet Earth, de facto leader of the free world, is doing a ride along with cops. Donald Trump is going to be patrolling the streets of D.C. tonight with the cops. Now, this is part of his anti-crime push. He had brought the National Guard in to clamp down on a pretty dangerous city there. And he's going to see how it's going. He's going to go with the guys that are on the front lines and try and get a look at it himself. And look, I don't know how legit this could possibly be because he's the president. He's going to have all kinds of security around him, and you're not going to have him in anything that's genuinely risky. So what's he going to do? Is he going to have a phalanx of security guards, Secret Service guys around him? I don't know, probably something like that. Is he going to run around in a hard car? You know, the armored car with the bulletproof windows? They call it the Beast, kind of. I don't know how this is going to go down, but at least the attempt is there. And sure, if you flood the place with National Guard troops while they're there, crime could go down. But if you're not solving the pipeline that is creating all these criminals, then it's just going to come back the second they leave. So, I'm glad it'll be fine under Trump, but I don't want it to revert in 3 years when he's out of office and some other goober comes in and it's just going to be business as normal. And don't misunderstand me. I'm glad he's doing this. I think it's the right thing to do. I hope it works out well for him. But we have MSNBC. They have been talking about this probably too much this afternoon. And their headline, I hadn't been listening to much of it, but I've been watching the Chiron, the little caption at the bottom. And it says, new poll shows majority of D.C. residents disagree with or don't think Trump's crackdown will help on crime. That's terrible, terrible journalism. What you should be doing is saying, hey, they've already been here, is it a week, 2 weeks? And you could give us the numbers. Has crime gone up or down? Who cares if they think it's going to work? Who cares if you ask a constituency that 80% of them voted against Trump if they think what Trump is doing is the right thing? How about you go tell us the damn numbers on what is the robbings, the carjackings, the auto theft, the shootings, the murders, aggravated assault, since we've had the Trump intervention versus the same time period before that? That would be real news. That would be making your point. Not political propaganda where you're trying to sway public opinion, not report it. That's where you're trying to sway the news, not report it. You have real facts. If it's such a terrible idea, why aren't you giving us the numbers? Why aren't you showing us how armed robberies have gone up, how muggings have gone up, how carjackings have gone up, auto thefts, home burglaries, shootings, murders. How has that gone up? Because if it's such a bad idea, you could just go ahead and prove it right now. So that tells me the numbers aren't in their favor. So how do they report on this? Not Trump's doing a good job tamping down crime. I mean, I feel like I'm being fair. I'm not some sycophant who goes, everything Trump does is good. I gave you a dose of skepticism in there. But yeah, how are you against this? This is so enjoyable because now you have these people on MSNBC or anyone who's just dedicated to the narrative that Trump is Hitler. Well, now you're what? You're fighting against stopping crime, or at least the attempt of stopping crime. You're fighting against peace between Ukraine and Russia. You're fighting against the 10 Commandments in classrooms, but for the gay BCs in classrooms. You know, they put themselves in a weird position. Whenever you just say, whatever this guy does is bad, if he ever does anything good, then you're now dedicated to arguing against the good. And for some reason, I find that adorable. Online, it's playing out. You know, these people, you see how MSNBC treats it. How does the average Team Blue sycophant treat this? Let's go to a viral video here where a woman who happens to be just incredibly beautiful, but that's not neither here nor there. She thinks we should start bullying MAGA men because we're scared of cities. Really?
We truly are not bullying MAGA men as much as we should. Because what do you mean you're scared of cities? Cities? Like downtown? You're scared of that? You're supposed to be the protectors, right? Aren't you all the one pushing the gendered that men have to protect women? What are you protecting us from? I strap my toddlers into a car and drive them downtown literally weekly and think nothing of it. But you, my guy, won't go within a 5-mile radius without your Glock and being strapped up? I think we should be bullying them more. That seems like snowflake to me. These big, strong men get their stats from Fox News and think that crime has overridden these areas and the police are getting beat up. No, they're not. I literally went to the farmer's market downtown 2 weeks ago. It was fine. The little guy is scared of the big city. Oh,
that's nice and condescending. Gee, I wonder why men don't vote for you in droves anymore. Yeah, it's not that we're scared of the big cities. And you can act like, well, I went through once and I didn't get any crime that happened against me. Yeah, you went to the farmer's market probably at 10:30 in the morning in a nice part of town. When you look at the statistics, that is where all the crime is. 2% of the counties are responsible for more than half of the murders. More than half of the counties have 0 murders. If you take 0 or 1, you know, sort of the anomaly out there, you get to about 70% of the counties in America have 0 or 1 murders on any given year. So, yeah. The inner city, the big cities, they are ridiculously more dangerous than the country. Doesn't mean we're scared of them. Just means we're not stupid. We're not going to go. I would rather live in Buck Tussle, where the crime rate is 1/70th. It is in the inner city of D.C. Now, you want to juxtapose that? You know, we should bully MAGA men for being scared of cities. Well, let's ask a D.C. resident, one who happens to not be a Republican or happens to be a white guy. He lives there his entire life. Does he think crime's out of control?
So now y'all mad at Trump for cleaning up D.C., cleaning up the nation's capital. And I think it's crazy, especially if you a DMV native. When we go out and do things, we typically go to D.C. We all have seen some BS in D.C. I've lost friends to gun violence in D.C. I've been out partying and heard gunshots in D.C. Then you go somewhere like the Wharf to the Felipe Chow and people getting robbed at Felipe Chow. And I can continue, but I ain't really trying to go there today. But it ain't safe, and you can't even really enjoy yourself, man. Oh, one more. They said the Capital One Arena is the most dangerous arena in the country. If you've been down there in Gallery Place, you already know. So knowing that these things affect us and affect our safety, especially y'all with kids, how can you get mad at that? Like, I promise y'all, and listen, I'm in the middle. I don't rock with either party. But if Biden or Kamala was doing this, y'all would be happy. Real talk. Like, I know the little young YNs is out of control, man. And y'all sick of them too. But again, y'all just like to be outraged about anything.
Thank you very much for making that video, sir. By the way, YN, that is young N. There's also BN, baby N's. There, and he's talking about an age group. So YNs, it's like 15 to 25. Once you're 25 to like 35, you get called Unc. And once you're over 35, where I'm at here, I would be referred to in that vernacular as an OG. I'm not very proud of that. I don't think I'm old enough to be called an OG, but when you have gray hair on the sides, I know that's what you get. That's where I'm at. Not cool anymore. So yeah, Trump's going to be patrolling the streets of D.C. tonight. Good luck, buddy. I want to leave you with some viral video audio, and I just want you to think about this because we'll probably talk about it a little bit more on tomorrow's show. But Beto's out there. Beto. He's so cool. He rides skateboards at Whataburger. And I have a feeling that between supporting the Democrat representatives that ran out of state legislature to avoid a quorum over the last 2 weeks and, you know, kind of flirting with the idea of running for senator again or running for attorney general or something, we're not done with this guy. Well, he's got political aspirations and he's got nothing better to do. He doesn't have a day job. He's a rich kid who married into an even richer family. And so we're just going to have to keep dealing with this fool. Here he is talking about how 100 years from now, the history books and historians will view the MAGA movement much like they view 1930s Germany and their just oblivious allowance of the Nazis' rise to power.
I can only imagine the history books written 100 years from now looking at the people of 2025. It's the way, you know, you and I, when we were in school, were looking at the people in Germany in 1933. That guy.
Did you dump it? Beto said a bad word, so we had to dump him. I'm stupid because I forgot to put I forgot to put my fart sound effect in there. Because whenever you use the S word, I substitute the sound most associated with the S word. And I think that's a good system we've worked out on the James Show. But anyway, he was making the case that in 100 years from now, historians will regard the MAGA movement much like the idiots in the 30s in Germany. Let's what are the policies that you're talking about that the fascists, the people in Germany and Austria in the 30s were pushing? Did they sound more like Team Red or Team Blue? Let's go review real quick. I have the montage of a lady who, when she was in school as a child, the Austrians voted to have Hitler be their leader, and he came in and he made a whole bunch of changes, whole bunch of policy preferences. I put them in a montage. Tell me if they line up closer with Beto or with you.
So the first thing what happened, we had to carry national ID cards. The newspaper, before it hit the street, it was being censored by the government. Everybody was getting a guaranteed income from the government. In order to achieve that, they had to raise our taxes up to 70%. Those who were on the lower income level, they got subsidized housing, food stamps, they got heating fuel, and they got a certain amount of payment from the government for each child. Before Hitler, of course, the moms stayed home and they raised their families. But under socialism, the moms were being put out into the workforce. So what happened to the children? Child care centers. It was all free for everybody. We even prayed in public school before class and after class.
Oh, religion in schools.
We were being told not to listen to our parents. They were just old-fashioned old fogies. Hitler also nationalized our car industry. Hitler nationalized our banks. He nationalized our healthcare system. When a couple was not 100% Aryan and the woman was pregnant, she was forced to have an abortion. We also had euthanasia, killing people. We also had gun control. Keep your guns and stack up on your ammo.
Amen. Hey, Beto, does that line up more with what I believe or what you believe? They didn't like religion in schools. What are we fighting right now in Texas? 10 Commandments in schools. They didn't want you to listen to your parents. Your parents were just old fuddy-duddies. We heard that audio earlier in the show. They're for gun control. They're for food stamps. They're for day care, for subsidized housing. nationalized health care, pro-abortion, high taxes. Who is the real fascist? Beto. All right, that's going to do it for the James Show. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.